Meet my ultimate sleeper PC build. It's a full-on gaming computer crammed into a 1986 Macintosh SE case. And no, it's not just some novelty. It's got some respectable power with a Ryzen 7600 CPU and RTX 3070 GPU. But it's also got some on-theme accessories like a built-in 4x3 display, a speaker system, and my favorite touch, an SD card reader in the original floppy disk slot. Come on, that just feels right. It crushes games and smiles while doing so. And when it's not showing off, it even naps. I call it the Joshintosh. Believe it or not, this is my first PC build and my first Windows machine in nearly 10 years, and ironically, it's still disguised as a Mac. I love my Macs for what I do, but I have always been interested in a PC solely for occasional gaming. The only issue is the typical PC builds I've seen just never really got me excited enough to make the investment. And to be honest, I'm not a fan of projects where the most interesting part about it is how much money you threw at it. Now, as someone with a chronic Facebook marketplace addiction, I recently came across this 80s Macintosh for sale, and it got me thinking, what if I used that as a PC case? How hard could it be? Well, it turns out it's pretty freaking hard. And expensive. But it was all 100% worth it. I mean, look, it's got an SD card reader in the floppy disk slot. Seriously though, not even counting all the beginner PC building and parts research I had to do, a lot of work and planning went into making everything cohesively fit. After gutting the case, I started with nothing more than measured cardboard mock-ups for each PC part fitted to the original stripped frame and inside the body. Once I got each part, I installed them in place by repurposing various original scrap, such as circuit boards for mounting plates and metal housings for brackets. All of this cut by hand in basically a shed with nothing more than a drill, hacksaw, metal file, sandpaper, dedication, and an unreasonable refusal to buy real tools. Hey, it's artisanal. Because of the unconventional layout of everything, a few parts like the graphics card and power supply had to use extensions to run their plugs to the back of the case. And cable management is, well, unique. The case itself has more of the same cutting for the ports, fans, and speaker holes, but I even went and soaked it in hydrogen peroxide under some heat lamps for a few days to re-whiten the yellowed plastic. Now, I know some of you may be cringing at the sight of hacking up an old computer like this, but I did specifically choose a non-working one. And as someone who owns and works on a lot of vintage stuff, I really did make sure to respect the item and try to do any cut or modification as clean and intentional as possible. Ultimately, I didn't want to totally ruin something this old. I mean, there's only so many of them out there. And for me, I don't want something that's janky. After a month of spending every day researching, planning, cutting, and even straight up just intensely staring at the thing, I was ready for the final assembly. Frame, front panel, screen, power supply, motherboard, graphics card, speakers, fans, case. The Joshintosh is born. Let's test this beast. You know, I'll be honest, I'm starting to think I may have wasted my money on this RTX 3070. I spent $2,000 on a PC and I don't have any budget left for games. Now in a build like this, the raw specs aren't the exciting part, at least for me, but I'll throw them up here for those who are curious about the technicals. Most importantly, everything chosen had to work in a $2,000 budget, including case stuff, game well enough to even be worth the build, and of course, fit in the limited space. And based on benchmarks I looked up and early testing of my own, this thing is very respectable. It can play pretty much most modern games at 1080p or 1440p on high settings, plus do some ray tracing too. One downside to buying smaller PC parts is you do have to pay extra to get the same performance as larger counterparts. The motherboard and power supply cost about twice the price as usual for this reason. Most normal PC cases are also designed for maximum airflow. Here I only had room for a 140mm intake fan, a 120mm exhaust fan, and a low-profile CPU cooler. So I again paid a premium and got Noctua brand fans because they're known for being the quietest. My thinking is I could take advantage of this and run them faster to compensate for the low fan count. Now, you can find thousands of PC builds with more or less the same specs, but besides the weird mounting and this, what makes this build unique is the way it plays into the Macintosh case theme. Most obviously, there's this screen on the front. It's fully functional and hooked up to the GPU, so you can use it for browsing or even gaming, though it's more appropriate for retro 4x3 games. I personally use an external monitor 90% of the time, so I've set the built-in screen to rotate through these custom animated retro wallpapers I made. I think they add a lot of personality, and when used as a screensaver, they really turn the computer into a sort of digital art display. Plus, Wallpaper Engine has a ton of existing ones to throw in too. The little robot face I made, coupled with the fact this thing is called a Joshintosh, makes me feel like I'm some sort of cartoon mad scientist. I love it. Stop sleeping on the job and load up Cyberpunk with ray tracing. You also could theoretically have the monitor display system stats like CPU and GPU temps and usages while gaming, but I haven't set a custom one up yet. They were a very tight fit, but I was able to also add a set of 2-inch speakers and a 5-watt amp. The real clever part though, is I was able to repurpose the original brightness wheel to be the volume control. Getting that to line up right in that tight of a spot by hand was not easy. The speakers aren't going to cause any noise complaints, but they are plenty solid given the limited space. Coupled with the display, they can make the computer into a cool music video jukebox, or heck, even a portable DDR cabinet. Oh, also, have I mentioned the thing's got an SD card reader in the floppy disk slot? How cool is that? There's also a USB-C port and power button hidden in there too. I had a really hard time finding a power button I liked until I had the idea to hide one in this slot. Funny enough, these spare keyboard switches I had literally lying on my floor just happened to fit. It's a Keychron Silent Tactile Brown, by the way. Add that to the spec sheet. All in all, I love this computer. At the end of the day, it may just be a normal gaming PC in a novelty case, but to me that's what makes it special. At least as someone not in the PC building space, this looks like no other computer case I've seen. It's perfectly and uniquely mine, and I spent so many hours working hands-on to make the idea a reality, and I think I did a great job. This is not a PC build where you just assemble parts like an IKEA set. This thing is handcrafted. If you're interested in the full build process, I have an in-depth video showing that next. It's quite a journey and interesting in itself. A lot of parts, especially the cutting, took forever, but even still, I enjoyed every moment of building this. Quite honestly, I don't think I'll ever have as much fun using the thing as I did making it. To me, the Joshintosh is a perfect blend of retro style, modern practicality, and simple fun. So what's next? Now, given my small channel size, I have no idea how popular this video will be, but I can imagine there are probably people out there that would love one of these as much as me. That being said, I would be hesitant to recommend the average person go out and try this. Maybe it's hypocritical, but you gotta understand, this took a lot of work and there are definitely some parts you can mess up or just come out janky if done wrong. Couple that with the fact there are only so many of these old Macintoshes out there, let alone ones that aren't beat up, and any mistake you make is another one gone. As someone who spent a lot of time on this conversion, there's also many things I know could be so much cleaner and simpler if the frame and interior were built differently from the start. So I thought, it's 2025. What if I made a 3D printed copy of the Macintosh SE, but optimized for modern PC parts? No cutting, no modding, just all the looks of the original, but a redesigned interior and frame that naturally fits and mounts everything. It just works straight out the box and even better than an original Mac ever could. Or you can even further modify it for whatever without any guilt of ruining an old one. I can even model versions for Mac Minis or other systems with just some simple changes. I really think I could do it, and I can already picture what it'd look like. Especially with some sanding and paint, I can make it real nice. For now, this is just an idea, and I got some other video projects on my queue, but let me know, cause if there is enough genuine interest, I really don't need too much more convincing to give it a try in a future video. Until then, watch my next video on this build process, and stay checking in for more updates on the Joshintosh saga. Also, can we just appreciate this thing's got an